Thank you. Morning. Welcome to Chile. Try to do it in English or Spanglish. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to Luis and to the organization. When Luis asked me to prepare this presentation, I thought, you know, I'm not really, well, I'm a scientist and an educator. Everybody is an educator. But I've done a lot of, from a scientific point of view in Chile, and have tried to do something from, you know, education to the public and to the students. And I thought about the name of the presentation, and the name is Marine Education in Chile, and this is an expression that said Galileo Galilei when he was convinced, you know, that it was not the sun but the earth were turning around. So in spite of everything, you know, it moves, it keeps moving. So I will say that marine education in Chile, in spite of everything, you know, is moving slowly, but it's moving. And that's the sense. So this is not a very traditional keynote. What I'll try to do is to describe my own experience first. I'm not going to try to synthesize everything that's been done in Chile. I'm really based on my own experience. And at the end of the presentation, I will look for a dream, you know. What are we dreaming, you know? Dreaming is very important in Chile. So in the front page, you know, for you to know, in Chile, we do not have, you know, a formal national program in marine education or even ocean literacy. It's not there. We hope to have it, but it's not there. So that's very important to know. It's a lot of, you know, small activities here and there at different universities, but we do not have a formal national program in marine education, and we would like to have it, and that's one of the dreams. But I will keep going later on. And we're working in that direction, but there is still a long way to go. So in spite of above, you know, we have some experience in marine education in different universities in Chile. Have access to some resources, small amount of resources, but have access to some resources. But we have a lot of hope and enthusiasm for this particular situation. This is the opening address. You know, we do not have a formal program. So what I'll try to do in my presentation is talk about my really personal experience on marine education in Chile, not from the university point of view, you know, from secondary school, from secondary primary education, and then public as large. So I will say that I will address tools we or myself have used in communicating with the public, little things, but you know, we've been working in that direction. A little bit about basic, I will call it marine, not oceanic literacy. Then I will move into what this is, you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So we started a long time ago. Then in the midterm experiences with marine education, those years in which we established a marine coastal station in front of Santiago, about 100 kilometers from Santiago. It's called the SIM. I will talk about that because it's very important. And then explain just very, very shortly projects I did in 92, 93 with UNESCO, the Ministry of Education, and the Catholic University for 2 years. Then the third term experiences is the most recent one, 2000, 2010. There is a series of education programs in Chile through Explora, which is part of the CONICET, which is the equivalent to National Science Foundation in Chile. So there's some money to do small projects, you know. And I think there have been about 20 projects in Chile in the last 10 years, you know, little things for a year, different places of Chile. Then something we did in Las Cruces, we started training, you know, marine education monitors, you know, people, not students. The present is that we have a millennium on marine conservation. This is a big program in Chile. This is marine conservation. And under this umbrella, we're developing a marine research and education program, which is called Chile Smart. Chile is Sea. And I will explain you what we mean by that. And at the end, as Gabriel said, you know, trying to talk about the dream from the future. We think it's close. It's not a dream which is really very far away. I think it's every day is closer and closer, and I'll explain you what are we trying to do. So my earliest engagement in the 70s, you know, 74, 75, not very easy time for Chile at that time from the political point of view, was on non-formal marine education based on the use of different instruments. Let me show you two instruments myself and other people have used. My early experiences, and not very many people in Chile know about it, is something we did as an example of communication with the public. We wanted 5 scientists in the 70s, early 70s, wanted to communicate with the public. I'm a marine biologist, was a geologist, oceanographer, and things like that. And what we did is we invented a publication that was published every 2 weeks and was sold in the kiosk, in the newspaper. That was the way to communicate. No, not nature and not science and not whatever. Communicate with people. And we did that for 3 years. I was the marine ecology, marine biology in the team. And it was called Expedición a Chile. It was published, it's about 40 numbers, every 2 weeks in the newspaper kiosk. It's the only thing that has been done in Chile, actually to relate, you know, simple word, the wonders of this country. It's very little has been done, not only in Chile, but in Latin America. We go to the newspaper kiosk, you know, it's a lot of lions and elephants and things like that, far away from us, you know. So this was a wonderful experience. We paid a lot of these exercises from our own money. So it was trying to express the wonders of Chile in geology, geography, the ocean, the coast, the flora, and things like that. And something I did at that time was publication of field guides. These actually are the only field guides in the country in these issues, okay? There are field guides on butterflies, on mammals, things like that. And the way it was that, you cut it, you know, the top of this publication, and after 3 numbers, you got that 5 hours. No? That was the idea. These are, you know, I did 3. I did one on rocky shores and coastal shore. We did one on shellfishes and marine algae, and one on coastal fisheries. Every one has 120 pages, a little. You can put it in the pocket, and you can go to a show. And that was the way we used, you know, about 40 years ago, trying to communicate what we knew about, you know, the wonders of Chile, in this case, you know, the oceans and the coast, and communicate with people and with students. You know, 40 years later, still, you know, university students and people, I can see people on the rocky shore along Chile having these little guys, you know. This was a powerful way to communicate to people in the newspaper kiosk, okay? Not nature, not science, journals. So that's very interesting. I re-edited this guy into 2008, and we're doing a new one in 2012 because, you know, it was out of print and things like that. And we re-edited this one, and we're working in the re-editing of this one. So actually, it's the only thing you have in Chile if you want to go to the rocky shore, the sandy beach, or fish market. What is the name of the fishes in the fish market? Well, you go to these guys, and you will know that. And there's some indication. So it's communication with the people. I'm a teacher. My first degree is as a teacher in natural sciences, so teaching is my heart. And then I did that, which I think is very people know about that. You know, I mean, you can communicate with people through stamps. So I did. I mean, this is a native pieces of Chile. This was done about 20 years ago. So I'm not going to point out other things, you know, but there are ways in which you can communicate your science and your knowledge to people through very simple ways. But right now you cannot find these. Probably they're very expensive. You know, it was 20 years ago. Let me go to the midterm experiences. In '82, we established the Marine Coastal Station. I'll show you in a minute, in Las Cruces. Las Cruces is 120 kilometers from here. I went to the University of Southern California and took a month course on marine education, so I was really interested in this subject, and I went there for nearly a month and got some training myself. And then after that, I started in Chile a 2 years program on, this is education, marine education, EduMar, with money from UNESCO. Not a lot of money, $10,000, $15,000. You don't need a lot of money, you know, to communicate science. That's very important. So let me explain you. Las Cruces is in central Chile, 33 south latitude. Somebody asked me, you know, you ask me in a minute. Las Cruces is there. San Antonio is the second most important port in Chile, and we got a deep canyon there. You know, 1,000 meters deep within 5 kilometers. And I keep telling people we're blind to the sea. We just see the surface of the sea. We're blind. We're terrestrial animals. We're not marine animals. We have to make a tremendous effort to communicate what is going on in the sea because we're blind. We just see the surface. We don't see the wonders where it belong. And this is a fantastic possibility, you know, to nobody knows in Santiago, in San Antonio, in central Chile, this canyon is there. It's 1,000 meters, you know, 5 miles from the shore. It's wonderful. You can do wonderful things there from communicating. We know very little about that. This is, Las Cruces was created in '82. This is a photograph about 10 years old. There are more buildings now here. It's a rocky shore, no more than 1 kilometer. It's the only rocky shore in Chile. We've been protected for 35 years. And we know exactly what's going on inside. One thing is protecting places, other thing is what's going on inside when you protect our area. There are two different things. Lot of marine parks, lot of preserved areas, paper parks, because you don't know what's going on inside. This is the only 1 kilometer rocky shore and coastal area in Chile in which you know exactly what happened inside this area when you relaxed exploitation. So when you relax, when you don't allow exploitation of the resources, what's going on in the system? We know exactly what's going on here, thanks to this marine coastal station, which is unique. It's unique in Chile and it's unique in Latin America. It's only 1 kilometer, it's nothing. It's nothing, it's absolutely nothing. But there's about 100 papers published out of this experience. And we know exactly what's going on inside. And by knowing that, we've been able to extrapolate that knowledge even to legislation in Chile. So as Gabriel said, once you get information about these areas and you are and you like, you can work with legislators. So this is a marine protected area. As you see, it's a small one. It took us about 25 years for the government to declare as a park. You know, for 25 years we worked with that area without being a park. Some legal instrument. Now it's totally legal, but it took us 25 years. So I will be back to the station later. Let me tell you a little bit about this 92-93 project. We train about 40 teachers in the San Antonio province, which is one of the poorest provinces in Chile. Teachers from first to A level, basic education. And the training was based on lectures and practical exercise in coastal areas. We took them to rocky shores, sandy beaches, land interaction, flora and fauna, and we teamed up with, we were 2 marine biologists and 5 specialists from the Ministry of Education. And we developed a program. I think this is the only program being developed in Chile, you know, for 2 solid years. And you can tell exactly which were the aims, the objectives, and which were the outputs. In the program, we developed, you know, 3 or 4 field and practical guides for every one of the levels, and a total of 30 marine education guides for the teacher and for the students. There's something, you know, you have to work with the teachers on a different instrument for the students. And it's based on marine ocean literacy, main concepts, identification of species in the market, field observations, and simple, very simple experiments. So the teachers, those 40 teachers were trained for a year. And we used the very rich, extremely rich Central Chile tradition and publication on poetry. Pablo Neruda, you know, Pablo Neruda's place is only 10 kilometers away from our station. And that area is an area which is a lot of poets. And we use poetry as a way related to the sea to do ocean literacy. I think poetry, you know, is a very powerful way to communicate the ocean to the children. I'm not going to look too many details, but you know, we produce these guides. We train, the teachers were trained in 25 sessions. They have 5 visits to the sites. We use the marine station at Las Cruces, train these 40 teachers, you know, and at the end they train 1,200 students the next year, you know. It's a lot of details, but this is a program was developed with UNESCO and the Ministry of Education. Very unfortunately, you know, at the end of the program, the Ministry of Education at that time didn't take the idea, you know, away. And our idea was this to be a national program. It was not. It just ended. UNESCO money ended, the program ended. That was the situation. In more recent time, you know, we've been having a lot of training session in Las Cruces with the Explora CONICET program. We got a set of observation in Las Cruces. We don't have facilities. These are facilities for science, not for education. But we're using some of those facilities to train a group of people in the plankton world, you know, a set of observation. It is wonderful to see a kid, you know, having those tanks, you know, and explaining them that this is not oxygen, but air. That's very simple. You know, what is there is air. It's not oxygen. Everybody said the oxygen tank. It's not. It's not true. Very little things, you know, allows you to communicate with the ocean. This is the only one we haven't got money to repeat this experience, but we train these volunteers, you know, my age, third age people, you know, monitor people in Las Cruces for 2 months, and they used to come to help us. You know, that is very well known in the United States. It's not known in Chile. It is unthinkable of, you know, so we're working into that direction. A year ago, we got a big project in Chile. It's called Marine Conservation. And this is the umbrella we're using, this scientific program, to do an education program, and I'll let you know about it. We're trying to put forward a very simple concept. We would like to tell students in Chile, not thinking in Chile as this long terrestrial area, but thinking in Chile as ocean. It's very simple. This is Easter Island. This is Sala y Gómez. This is Juan Fernandez Archipelago, and this is the Venturada. We got 4 very important oceanic islands in Chile. And there's 200 miles around those islands. 200 miles around those little islands. This one is 500 meters long and 200 meters wide. There's nobody living there. And it's 200 miles around those islands. So if you were to think about Chile, and this is a map of Chile, what we are taught, I was taught at school, and still people are taught, that the surface of Chile is that one. And that's the surface of, territory, the territory, the land territory of Chile. And that's not true. The total territory of Chile is that one, taking into account the EEZ, okay? So when you do the math, Chile is 80% ocean. And that concept, which is so simple and so powerful, is not here. So we have developed this logo, okay, less than 6 months ago. And we're going to use that logo to communicate, and we hope to put, a poster on every single classroom in Chile with that logo. Trying to, that's literacy, oceanic literacy. Very simple, but very powerful. Chile is sea. Chile is not land, sea is more important. So we're trying to develop those ideas, okay? So you go to the web page. I'm sorry about that. And this is the outreach program. This is our logo. And right now, Jose is going to develop this. Jose is part of our team. He's going to develop in one specific talk this idea. So just touching upon those ideas. So it's a web page. It's 4 people or 5 people working this program, education program. We got, for instance, we just got a contest, Chile Sea in 100 words. And there was about 200, 250 entrants. And the girl from Concepcion described Chile in 100 words. And he's getting some rewards for that. That's the name of 13 years old children. So we got a graphic campaign to promote the value of marine ecosystem and resources. We got school-guided visits to a scene, trying to build up community awareness about scientific knowledge. This is just, Jose will develop the idea more clearly. We're just starting a campaign which is called MAR, for responsible food, or how to eat food. It's called MAR. Took us about a month to get that, very simple. But could be very powerful because it's, in Spanish it's marine, alimentación marina, but with the M, that's MAR. And we're developing cards that will be displaying restaurants. So people going there, will know what they're eating, what's the name. And if that resource they're eating is being overexploited, that's going to be said there. And we're developing this campaign, not by ourselves, but in conjunction with the Subsecretary of Fisheries. So we like to do it straight, We're starting with this campaign within a month. And we're going to have workshop with regulatory authorities, very important. We think it's very important. So, just touching upon, 3 or 4 points. It's not only outreach, it's not only basic education, it's getting into the regulatory authorities, it's getting to the people, it's getting to the restaurant, and so on and so forth. And as Gabriel said, there's a dream, for the future. And the Chile-California Marine Program that Gabriel mentioned, it could be the way to do it. And let me spend, 10 more minutes on the dream. So this is just not my own experience, but it's a dream, for a number of universities in Chile. So we got this is our field station, Las Cruces. The sea is here. This is a station, and we got about 2,000 meters, and we like to build a marine interactive educational center in this station. Station is there, facilities there, science is very good. We publish 25% of the whole publication done in Chile in this area, and we're only 10 people publishing 25% of what is done in Chile. It's very powerful. And we got the land. The land belongs to the university. This piece of land belongs to the university, and we like to develop 2 things. In the near future, marine education interactive center there, connected to the station, particular for the children, and in the further future, perhaps a small public aquarium, really small. No, we don't think in it big, small, big aquarium. So we have developing ideas about that. It's a very interesting situation here because one of our plants is not only touch tanks and you know, training center for students, but they will have the possibility to go around this station and see by themselves which are the changes in the ecosystem when you eliminate fishes and you eliminate people from an area. And you can see that. So it's going to be an integration of what is being done is done here, you know, plus, you know, unique opportunity to show people in this path around the station, around this kilometer. What do you see inside and what do you see outside? It's fantastic, okay? And things like that. So I'm not going to give you a lot of details here. But basically, we like to develop something. This is what we have right now in Las Cruces. The station is here, and this is the dream. How to build this and connect this, you know, to the station. The scientists are here. These will be the educators. And one of the big problems that I think I can't go and get $500,000 to build it. I don't think it should be a problem because the idea is so powerful that we'll get it, I think, okay? But the real problem, you know, who is going to run that from the educational point of view? Is it the university interested in this? Is it the government interested in this? So one thing is to do the buildings, another thing is running the thing. And we are not going to be able to run that because we're scientists, we're not educators. So that's the dream, you know? And we would like, you know, to sell the idea that we have to start thinking on Chile, looking to the sea. This is a powerful thing that developed a group of poets in Las Cruces about when Chile get 100 years old, they developed the idea of thinking Chile, looking to the sea. And we have getting that idea back into. So it is a dream. I'm not going to give you a lot of details here, but we got the details. We're hoping to train about 2,300 children directly there for a year, but then there's the nets and the connectivities and things like that, which could be very important. We would like to give services to the San Antonio provinces, which is one of the poorest in Chile, but Santiago and Valparaiso is only 100 kilometers away. So we hope, you know, to develop programs. We have developed, you know, all the objectives. I'm not going to give details about the objectives, but we got very clear what we want to do there, you know. And we got partners, and that's because I think the dream is sort of around the corner right now. Our partners we're trying to develop this idea for the Catholic University of Chile at Las Cruces, but you know, we're collaborating with the University of Concepcion and with the University of Norte Sea, and perhaps, you know, in these two universities, we want to be developed, you know, similar situations to the one we're thinking for Las Cruces. We would like to see, you know, in the next 5 years, 3 pilots programs going on in Chile. Perhaps this is the closest one, because the facility is there and the people is there, and we'll be pushing this idea at least for 10 years. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, you know, Gabriel and other people, is behind the idea, so it's a lot of hope. And we got, you know, at least Packard Foundation as an international partner. We're working on that. Luis is helping me with this, and we're going to have a meeting probably in March or in April here in Chile, trying to put to them this idea. Once again, I think that getting the money shouldn't be all that difficult. It's just that this country has not a single aquarium. There's not one. And that's something, you know, that need to be, you know, tackled. I'm not thinking on an aquarium. We're not thinking on an aquarium right now. We're thinking on interactive educational marine centers. Perhaps the aquarium could be, you know, linked to this. when you mentioned the word aquarium, you know, it's this huge and glass. We're not thinking about that. But this country has not a single aquarium. And that's a debt, I think, of the country for the public. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation.